Welcome. Today we're going to talk about how I take notes in books, and we're going to look a little bit at Scarcity by Sendhil and Eldar, because I can't say the last names, as kind of how I start that. So I do sort of like bullet journal system, I suppose, and you can see I put a dot with everything. I used to cross them off when I'd copy them. I actually don't copy my notes out anymore, and we're going to talk about why and what I do instead. And then I have a few denotations, I suppose. So B is book. So this is a book that I want to look up. Hunger by, I don't know. I just put the name in there. I can't read it right now. Sharman something Russell. But that lets me know, like I can search Hunger by Russell and that'll come up. Right. This is kind of like Markdown. This is a block quote. And indented is my thoughts on it, if I want thoughts as well. And usually I do if I have a block quote. And then I also put the page number, and you can see number 7 right there. So then I have what I want. So a few of the things that I'm always looking for in a book is the book argument. What's the main argument of the book? Why are we talking about this? Why is it an important book? Why do I want to read it? And then if I can determine the structure, then I'll do that as well. So this one had more chapters. So the scarcity mindset, there's actually a couple chapters in here, but really all those chapters were about the same thing. They were about the scarcity mindset. So I did not break it up into further chapters in my notes. I simply stuck with the main part 1 of it. Another thing you'll see here is I wrote, after the midpoint in a meeting or a project, we suddenly get more productive, page 21. My bullet point is I read something about this for team projects. Maybe it was when, and this is 2018 R158 or Scrum 2018 R182. So at the back of my books, because I have 2 or 3 of these kicking around, so they have 2018 R1, 2019 R1, and this is the book I'm actually in is 2019 R2 and 2020 R1. But this just lets me know like what book I'm in. So if I want to go find when, and this is what I did, it actually was when was the book that I looked at. And I went back to when, and you can see that's 2018 R1, page 58. So 2018 R1, 58. So that lets me look back and say quickly in all my reference, where you can see I have a couple years of notebooks. 2015 R1, 2017, evidently I took no handwritten notes in 2016. Then 2018, 2019, and this is not all exhaustive in 2018. It's probably only 2019 where I committed to every single book that I read to think about. I'm going to take handwritten notes on. I'm not going to do any digital notes except for my review at the end. Everything else is going to be hand notes. And so that means as I go through, I can make a note on like, what was the other book, and I can reference it. So later in my review of Scarcity, I actually talk about some of these other books. I talk about when, because it was not Scrum. Well, let me go back at my notes. And then because I put page numbers on my notes, so I think, oh, this sounds like the right idea in the book when, I can go look it up in there, and I can find the page in the book and reread it to figure out like, was this actually valid? That's actually another reason I really, so back in probably the beginning of last year, I really started reading physical books again, mostly, and not reading Kindle books, because as soon as I change the print size, it's really hard to track where I got a quote from. There's no page numbers, there's location can change, percentage is better, and I can kind of look in a percentage of a book, and so I do keep percent, but I don't love it as much. I find it much easier to read and go back and find things in a paper book, much like you can even see in this, right, how I can like leaf back and forth between things, right? I can say, oh, what was that again? And I just like flipped it forward and like looked up the books that I wanted to reference, and I just flipped back, wrote them down, yep, that's the right one, and that's it. So you can do the same thing in a physical book, and it's much harder to jump around in a Kindle book is what I found. What else in here, right? So here, this is not a block quote, but these are 2 pages that this is probably with. And if I group them together, it's kind of, a continuation of the same idea. Sometimes you'll see same in X. And then H2, so that's just stands for heading 2, because I'm a nerd web programmer. And that's kind of the next main heading. So I'd put 2 pound symbols when I write about it. If I take the copy of the full notes, which I used to do, I don't copy full notes anymore. I'm going to show you why in a minute. Or something that I'm trying, and I'm not copying the full notes out into digital copies anymore. I'm keeping them here. This is where the notes live. So you can see, okay, right, thinking back to Invisible Woman, 2019 R1 181. The lack of good transit options also creates time scarcity in specific demographic women. Men don't have this with their better access to cars and the fact that Most transit is built on hub and spoke, so the spokes are the outlying areas to the work and to the work area and go into work. And so that suits men, not women. Yeah, and so the other thing that I've started doing really just recently, I think with this book here, oh, you can see a leaky pen. I use because no one's going to care, a Lamy Safari with carbon ink in it, because I find left-handed, if I'm a little sweaty, that I just kind of blot this side. So with scarcity, I was talking to strangers, I started this, and I'm actually going back. So usually I would have taken this here, would meant that I have to take notes on it, and it sort of means that, but it means it in a different way. So what I've started doing in the back, I'll have to flip through a few till I find one, is an index. So the last 26 pages of this go with letters, and war is on page 1. So I went to page 1, I'd find something about war. All right, untouchable. So that's page 4. All right, scarcity, page 1, spotlight effect, so that I can go back through and like find keywords. And I'm planning to go back and do this with my other ones as well, with my other notebooks as well, and copy them out and like have an index in the back of each notebook. And I am toying with the idea, and I won't know until I've used this for a bit, whether I'll do this, is dedicating one book to this index. So I have one separate notebook that I keep at home, and I index, maybe I index in this as soon as I'm done reading when I'm out and about still, but then I transfer that index over to my one notebook. And so that I'd say, you know, like I showed in my notations before, right? 2020 R1, and then the page number, and I'd have the page number that the index went for, so that I'd have my own index of everything. I think that, why am I doing this? So I don't really have a place to store note cards, and that's something that Ryan Holiday has done, which has really interested me, where he pulls out quotes, and he's written about this a few times. He pulls out quotes, and then he puts them in an index card, and then out of that, he puts the index cards, and he makes them, he puts them in like themes, and then from there, from the themes, he can go find what he wants a writing project. I can't do that as much, but I can create like a single index for this. And like I said, what I do is I devote an entire notebook to it. So all whatever 100 pages this Leuchtturm, a Leuchtturm book is, I got a bunch on the shelf there. And I create that, and I divide it up in 26 even sections by letter. Probably don't even need to do that because some letters are going to be less X's, I'm sure. And then I would, write, say, coupling, and I'd leave like maybe 2-3 lines, and do the next one. And then, when I had to update that, I would copy it all back out again and alphabetize it. Because right now, it's not alphabetized, I'm just looking for a word. But we're just testing this out, right? I have the most recent book, you can see because I have high numbers like drinking, 56. Displacement theory is 57. Disconnect is page 5, because I haven't actually got, like I'm only here. Stillness is the key. That's my next book to index, and I'll just read through the pages and write the words that come up as I go. Yeah. So that's how I take book notes. I am, after doing it, for a few years, you can see from my reading notes at the back. For a few years, I did hand notes, but like really committing to it in the latter half of 2018, and then all through 2019, I only did handwritten notes through here. And I read mostly, I think mostly I did physical books as well in here. And then, my plan is to continue. And I think that it's a good qualifier for quotes. If a quote is not worth writing down by hand, then is it really worth writing down at all? And if the answer is no, then why are you doing it? And that's a good vetting method, so that you are only sticking with the things that are important. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, if you're interested in or have other ideas on how to take good notes on books so that you can keep them around, you can find them later, I'd love to hear it. You can leave it down in the comments. And thanks for watching. Give me a like. You can subscribe if you want. Never hit the bell. And you can support me at curtismchale.com. Neverbeen.com. You can support me at patreon.com/curtismchale if you want to see more reading, more stuff about notebooks, more stuff about iPad productivity, everything. Have a good one.